Hello ladies, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to talk to you all about how we can arrive at a private residence over the holiday season and make sure that we have the proper etiquette and manners and protocol when we arrive at someone's house, and even a few tips about how we can be a better host. If you're new here, you may not know, my name is Nicole and I went through the Secrets of the Elite Women course from Anna Bay earlier in the year, and over the past few months I've just been sharing my level up journey here on YouTube with you. So I would love if you press the subscribe button and join this little community if you find yourself on a little bit of a level up journey too. Now with that being said, today I thought we could talk a little bit more about etiquette, because if you saw my previous video, you would have seen that throughout the month of December, I thought we could really brush up and dial in on etiquette because we're going out more than we typically are. Usually in December, we're having people over at our home more than we typically do in December. And with that being said, it's nice to know that you're having the proper etiquette in the situations that you find yourself in. Now, if you didn't see my previous video, you may not have heard me say that when I went through the etiquette portion of the Secrets of the Elite Women course, I personally didn't really jive with it. I thought that some of the things that were in there were just common sense, and then some of the bits of information in there was just a little bit too extra. But what I'm learning is that a lot of the etiquette and like the rules, they actually take all the guesswork out, and there's no space for awkward interactions, whether you know that you're properly practicing the etiquette or not. I guess for the person who's on the receiving end of you holding proper etiquette. This will make sense in a second, but let's get into the video. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about etiquette. All right, so let's talk about when you are going over to a private residence. Maybe they're having you over for dinner. What are some of the things that you should expect, and what's some of the things that you should do? Now, what I'm learning is that if it's a little bit more of a formal gathering, there will be some sort of invite. I feel like this is very rare. It really depends on the type of person that you are dealing with, but what I'm learning is when I'm getting around people that are a little bit more progressed on their level up journey, a proper invitation will come with your invites to dine or visit whomever's home. And usually on that invite, there will be an indication of what kind of dress code is expected at this particular event. I know for me personally, in our household, we are trying to dress a little bit better, live a little bit better, eat a little bit better, but sometimes when we do go over to somebody's house where it is a little bit more casual, we walk in and they're like, "Where are you guys going?" And they feel that we're quite fancy when really that is just our everyday wear. So sometimes it is nice to know if there is a dress code. You never want to be overdressed. Equally, you don't want to be underdressed. Now, the next thing that you will want to consider when you are going over to someone's private residence over the holiday season and you're really wanting to make sure that you have the proper etiquette and protocol is being punctual. You do not want to show up too late. Equally, you do not want to show up too early. But here is the thing. One of my favorite YouTubers is a lady named Kylie Favel, and she lives in Italy. And she was talking about how when she first moved to Italy, she would show up right on time for dinner parties, and often the host would still be, in the shower with her hair in like suds up and whatnot, and it wasn't blow dried. And she realized that in Italy, when they give you a time, it's usually not the time you should arrive at. You should arrive quite a bit later. And that even varied depending on where in Italy you are. So typically, I think across the board, this is like a good amount, but you shouldn't be more than 10 minutes late. And the reason for that is, think about it. Think about if you were hosting a dinner party, you would have things in the oven, right? You would need to get things timed out appropriately because you would want to ensure that things aren't going to take forever to be cooked once your guests get there. Equally, on the opposite end of things, if you're the host and you're doing all of the cooking, you might run a little bit late, and having somebody come right on time, you might still be getting a little bit ready. So giving a 10 minutes grace period, I think, is a really great place to start. But as I mentioned, depending on where you are in the world, that might vary a little bit. Usually when you arrive at someone's private residence, the host will greet you and then you will come in. Equally, there usually will be a drink upon arrival. I feel like that's pretty standard even in the most casual settings. But what I've noticed is that if it's a little bit more of a formal setting, there might be like a seasonal drink ready for you. And if it is a little bit more of an informal setting, people just ask you like, hey, can I grab you something to drink? So usually there is going to be some type of drink that's provided for you upon arrival or very shortly after arrival. Now, if you are looking at hosting this year, I think that if you could create a seasonal drink, that is such a special touch, and you would be offering a drink anyways. What a quick and easy way to level up the dining experience and just make it a little bit more special. Now, if you are somebody that is going over to someone's private residence this year, you will want to consider bringing a gift with you. Some people recommend wine, some people recommend flowers, some people recommend something out of the box. I think that wine and flowers is a very safe bet to bring with you, or maybe you can bring a little dessert. Me and my girlfriends went over to one of our other friends' house just earlier this week, and my friend Natasha brought macarons, and I thought that was such a cute touch. Now, usually when you arrive at a dinner party of some sort or a gathering in a private residence of some sort, you will want to ensure that you say hello to everybody. I think this can be a little bit awkward if it's a family gathering and maybe there's some tension there, but I do think that especially if you're going over to somebody's home, you will want to make sure that you're saying hello to everybody. Equally, if somebody is coming over to your home, hopefully that would be reciprocated as well. But I think sometimes when you get there a little bit too late and conversations are already flowing, if you don't want to feel like you're interrupting somebody's conversation, that's when you can sometimes see people hang back, but then I think it ends up coming across as a lot more rude. I think it would be a little bit better to just, say hello, even if it's just a gentle like wave, and then you can catch up with that person after, especially if you're not wanting to interrupt the conversation. But I find the circumstances that tend to go awry a little bit more is when you don't say anything at all. So let's chat about seating. This is what I've found. We live in a day and age with Instagram where people love making tablescapes. So even the more casual settings that I've been to recently have had a beautiful table set out. And sometimes there's been place cards and sometimes there hasn't. So often you might see that people just allow you to have open seating, or if you're somewhere a little bit more formal, there will be a place card for you. I like putting out a place card if there is more than one household coming along. We don't have a huge table, so we haven't done a lot of dining with multiple households, but I think that's such a special touch, and you can really become really creative with this. Have you heard of something called precedence? I had never heard of it before until I went through the Secrets of the Elite Women course, and precedence is basically the order of which you will end up going to the dining table, or the order or way that you will walk in somewhere. So from what I understand, the queen does it this way. So when the queen starts eating, you can start eating. When the queen finishes, you finish. When the queen, I'm pretty sure that's the way that it goes. But in this particular circumstance, you follow whatever the host does. So if it was a more formal setting, the hostess would say, okay, let's walk into the dining room, and then all the ladies would follow the hostess, and then the gentlemen would follow the ladies, and then the host would then kind of bring up the rear, which is probably not the most elegant way of saying it, but the host would come in and then you would sit down and you would follow that particular order. I have never been anywhere that has had that precedence order, but this is like the most exciting thing. I think this is the thing that changed my mind about dining etiquette is, have you ever been to somebody's home and the hostess will say, hey, it's time for us to eat. Go ahead, take your choice. But nobody wants to go eat first. Nobody wants to sit down first. Nobody wants to be the first person to go do something. And it's awkward for your guests. And that made me see that if I practice proper etiquette with things, I take that awkward moment out of it for my guests. So for me personally, that's something that I have been implementing when we have people over. They don't notice that that's what I'm doing, but I know that that's what I'm doing, and then they're not left feeling uncomfortable, because no one wants to be that first person that goes and does something, right? Have you ever noticed that with certain etiquette rules before? Was there one thing that made you realize this actually makes sense and it's not just a bunch of pomp and circumstance? I would love to know what that was for you in the comment section down below, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.